I'm so glad you're here today because we are going to talk about something that almost everyone experiences at some point: the fear of being yourself. It's a struggle that sneaks into our relationships, our work, our families, and even how we show up on social media. And it's often subtle, quiet, and exhausting. You might not even notice it until you feel a sense of pressure, anxiety, or hesitation every time you're about to speak your mind, express your feelings, or reveal who you truly are. If this sounds familiar, then this episode is for you. We're going to explore why being yourself can feel scary, what makes it so challenging, and most importantly, how you can move toward authenticity even when it feels terrifying. Let's start with a simple question. Have you ever stopped yourself from saying something, posting something, or showing a part of yourself because you worried about what others might think? Maybe you've hesitated because you feared judgment, rejection, or ridicule. You're not alone. In fact, this fear is deeply human. As social creatures, we are wired to seek approval and avoid conflict. From a young age, we learn that fitting in is safer than standing out. And while this instinct can protect us in certain situations, it can also keep us from living authentically. Think about it in practical terms. Maybe you're on a date and you want to share a quirky hobby or a personal belief, but you stop yourself because you're afraid it will scare the other person away. Or maybe you're at a family gathering and you hold back your opinions because you worry about criticism or disappointment. Even on social media, where you can control what you post and how you present yourself, fear often dictates your choices. You might write a caption that feels watered down, avoid posting photos that show your true personality, or scroll endlessly comparing yourself to people who seem more confident, more exciting, and more worthy. All of this adds up to one thing: a sense of invisibility. And invisibility, even if it feels protective in the moment, slowly erodes your sense of self. You begin to ask yourself, who am I really? And more importantly, who am I allowed to be? Let's make this a little bit more concrete. How does the fear of being yourself show up in everyday life? Dating can amplify this fear like nothing else. You want to make a good impression, and that desire can lead you to hide parts of yourself that you fear might be too much or too weird. For example, maybe you love a niche hobby, like collecting vintage cameras or reading philosophical books no one else seems interested in. You might avoid mentioning it because you worry your date will find it boring or strange. Or perhaps you have strong emotional reactions. Maybe you cry easily or feel things deeply and you hold it back because vulnerability feels risky. But here's the thing: the very things you hide are often what make you magnetic, what make you relatable, and what make a connection meaningful. Pretending to be someone else may feel safe, but it rarely leads to intimacy, trust, or genuine love. The same goes for friendships. It's easy to slip into a pattern of people pleasing, agreeing with everything, laughing at jokes you don't find funny, or hiding opinions you think others won't like. Perhaps you've experienced it: a friend group where your ideas feel dismissed, or your quirks are gently teased. Over time, you stop sharing certain thoughts or expressing certain parts of yourself. You might even start to doubt your own instincts because you've been editing yourself for so long that you don't trust what's real. And yet, the friendships that truly matter are those where you can show up fully: quirks, opinions, and all. Yes, it might be uncomfortable at first. People may be surprised. They may not respond the way you hope. But the right people will embrace the real you, not the version you think they want. Social media is a stage, and like any stage, it can make you hyper aware of judgment. We scroll, we compare, and we measure ourselves against curated images of perfection. You might post something vulnerable, an honest thought, a struggle you're facing, or even a creative project, and immediately hesitate before hitting post. What will people think? Will they like it? Will they understand me? This fear can be paralyzing, but it's also deceptive. Remember, what we see online is a fraction of reality. People are navigating their own fears and insecurities behind the screens. When you start sharing yourself, even in small ways, you remind others that authenticity is possible. And that can be liberating, both for you and for them. And then there's family. Sometimes the fear of being yourself is rooted in the people closest to you. Parents, siblings, or extended family may have expectations. Expectations about your career, your lifestyle, or even your personality. You might have grown up hearing things like, don't be too loud, don't ask too many questions, or be like everyone else. These messages can linger, quietly shaping your sense of what's safe or acceptable. Breaking free from these expectations is often the hardest because it involves stepping into your own truth while risking conflict, misunderstanding, or even rejection from people you love. So, why is being yourself so scary? Let's unpack that a bit. At its core, this fear comes from three main sources. 1. Fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think. This isn't just vanity, it's a survival instinct. Our brains are wired to notice social evaluation because in the past, rejection could mean real danger. 2. Fear of rejection. Being yourself makes you vulnerable, and vulnerability carries risk. When you reveal your true thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, there's always a chance someone won't accept them. 3. Fear of failure or ridicule. We fear embarrassment, mockery, or being less than. This is especially strong if we've experienced criticism or ridicule in the past. Understanding that these fears are normal is the first step toward moving past them. You are not weak or flawed for feeling this way. You are human. And recognizing that fear allows you to respond consciously rather than reactively. Now let's talk about how to move forward. How do you start being yourself when it feels scary? Here are some practical, concrete steps. 1. Start small. You don't have to reveal everything about yourself at once. Start with small acts of authenticity. Say what you truly think in a safe conversation. Share a photo or post that reflects your real interests. Express a preference or an opinion, even if it's minor. Small steps build courage. Each act of authenticity is like a tiny muscle you're strengthening. Over time, it becomes easier to show up fully. 2. Redefine rejection. Rejection is not a judgment of your worth. It's simply a mismatch. Not everyone will resonate with you, and that's okay. The goal isn't to please everyone. It's to find the people, spaces, and experiences that align with your authentic self. 3. Embrace vulnerability. Being yourself requires vulnerability. Vulnerability is uncomfortable because it exposes you to uncertainty. But vulnerability is also where growth, connection, and joy live. Every time you allow yourself to be seen, even imperfectly, you build resilience and deepen connection. 4. Reflect on your values. Ask yourself, what matters most to me? Who do I want to be? Aligning your actions with your values rather than the expectations of others gives you clarity and strength. When your actions reflect your truth, fear loses some of its power. And 5. Practice self-compassion. Fear of being yourself often comes with self-criticism. You might think, I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't be like this. Instead, try saying, it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to be me. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. Let me share a few real-life examples that illustrate the power of embracing authenticity. I had a friend who loved writing poetry. but kept it secret on dates. One day, she read a small poem to someone she liked. The response? He was moved, connected, and genuinely interested. By sharing her authentic self, she created a connection she never could have with a curated version of herself. Another friend always avoided political conversations with her group, fearing conflict. When she finally expressed her views respectfully, some friends disagreed, but they respected her courage and honesty. Her friendships deepened, not fractured. I've spoken with listeners who've had to navigate family pressure to follow a certain career path. By gently asserting their choices, respecting their own desires, and communicating openly, they've begun to build relationships that honor both themselves and their families. These examples show that being yourself is rarely easy, but it is always transformative. Fear does not mean you're doing something wrong. Fear is often a signal that you are stepping outside your comfort zone and moving toward growth. Being yourself is scary because it matters. It matters to you, and it matters to the people who need to experience the real you. Fear is a sign that you're on the right path. Instead of avoiding fear, lean into it. Say the words you've been holding back. Post the thought you've been afraid to share. Show the quirks, interests, and emotions you've hidden. Each small act builds confidence and rewires your nervous system to accept that showing up authentically is safe and even rewarding. Let's end with this. Being yourself is scary, but worth it. It's scary because it exposes you to judgment, rejection, and uncertainty. But it's worth it because living authentically is the only way to experience true connection, fulfillment, and joy. Your authenticity is a gift. It helps others feel safe to be themselves. It reminds you of your inherent value, and it allows you to live a life that reflects your values, passions, and truth. The next time you feel the fear creeping in, remember, the fear is a sign that you are stepping into your real power. You're allowed to be yourself. You're allowed to be seen. You're allowed to live out loud, even if it feels scary. Embrace the fear. Step forward. Speak your truth. Share your quirks and live fully in the freedom of being you. Being yourself is scary, but it's worth it. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Light of Joy. If you've ever felt scared to be yourself, I hope this episode reminds you that you are not alone and that authenticity is always worth the courage. Subscribe, share, and join me next week as we continue exploring the small truths that make life meaningful and the inner shifts that make it joyful.